Folks, long time no hear. We have, well, let me find them. We have, Hunter, the new puppy, Hunter. Oh, what a good boy. He's the new puppy. And of course, there's Jasper, which you kind of saw passing. And of course, the ever lovely Miss Katie, who she will just hold the box still. That's a good girl. Now, what game do we have, Toots?
SALERNO 43.
And of course, you see Jasper's tail. And it's been a while, folks, and I would apologize for that, but, well, we're not going to, because we've just been lazy, or...
We've been busy.
We've been busy, but SALERNO is one of those battles that is particularly uninteresting to me until I then go back, read on it, and go, well, dang, this is an interesting battle. In fact, it's so interesting, it reminds you of a Thai Bomba game because it has so much fluidity in it. But this was Operation Avalanche. Of course, there's Petunia and her big butt. And this was a bad operation in terms of force ratios. We didn't have enough to get there. And of course, you know, the Germans had more divisions, but the problem with the German divisions, let's hold the game straight. That's a girl, because you keep getting glare on the game.
Sorry, guys.
But is that although the Germans had more divisions there, or division equivalents, they really didn't, because the German divisions that had got hammered in Sicily, well, they didn't really have the numbers. But we're happy that the new game shown the back of the box. Oh, it's a pretty GMT box back, isn't it? Yes, it is. Box back. Wow, we are in full Pennsylvania Dutch today. So, we'll get started here in a minute on the actual game itself. And if you see any orange here, well, that's kitty named after my mother, Miss Patsy, and she's a sped. So, as always, we thank you. We thank GMT for this. And Miss Katie, your thing to do now is say bye-bye. Bye-byes. Hi folks, it's Smitty. We are at a freeze warning for Alabama tonight. And guess what I can feel? I can feel the freeze warning in every one of my freaking joints, I swear. And I hurt tonight, and you know what that means? It means I'm alive. So I'm not gonna whine. But I will say the three magic words, and what are they, Katie? What are my three magic words? Grumble.
Grumble, grumble.
Yes, so there. I've officially grumbled and complained about it. But, alright folks, as we said, new game. I will show, you saw Miss Katie holding up the box with a little bit of glare here and there, but it's a bookcase game, and it's a small one. And of course I have the components out of it, but you barely notice because it's a light game. Does that mean GMT did something wrong? Because it seems lately every GMT game I get, I could use to build my upper body. Well, I looked at it and said, gee, we got ripped off because this is all the counters. Thank God we got a GMT game that has not a lot of counters. That I can sit up and play in an evening perhaps. And not worry about cats doing something to it right off. Imagine that in this house, the house of cats. So, one counter sheet. You're looking at it, folks. One. Not two, not three. We're doing holy hand grenade counting. But one. All right. Well, and of course, you know, we'll look at some of this closer. But the one thing I want to show you here, though, is notice how probably what? Close to 16% of the counters are markers. Again, not fussing, just pointing. We got a single die with it. Ooh. But we didn't get any bags for counters, which is really, really unusual for GMT. The rule book. The rule book is, if I recall, 32 pages. Well, that's better than, say, A Time for Trumpets, the bulge game, which is we're working on getting out to the table right now, which is 60-some pages for rules. It has 60-plus pages for scenario, and a player aid book, which Let's take a wild guess. I bet it's 60 pages also. 60 pages. It's 180 pages to read versus 32. Guess which one is most likely to see most of our tables? I have 3 friends who have talked to me recently about A Time for Trumpets who all said, yeah, we haven't put it to our table, and one that actually said today, I haven't even opened it. That says something. But there's another part of it. We have 2-player aid cards. Yay! That way if Hunter is playing with me, or Petunia here, well then I've got 2-player aid cards. Small CRT, the combat result table, and what else is below? Determined defense, which we've seen in the several Eastern Front games. Attrition, rally, sequence of play, airdrop table. Well, the airdrop in this game, and in reality, was another one of those dumb things that the U.S. Army did, hoping that the airborne elements would save what was not a very smart initial invasion plan. And of course, the terrain effect chart, which is, well, gee, a lot of it's mountains, because right in back of here is the spine of Italy. So, not a good thing. Don't you chew on that chair down there, mister. Second one, and of course, what do we have here? We have look at this. This is it. This is it in terms of units. So when you actually see the scenario, both your optional start and your campaign game and avalanche scenario, this is it. Yay! I can set this up in a wall. I can give this to Miss Katie to do, and it's not going to be onerous. And get ready for a black tail perhaps to come in your way. Now, Miss Katie even said, this is a small map. That's the entire map. It's a small map, folks. Again, the mantra for this game so far is not fussing. It's kind of nice to have, and looks more like a folio-sized map than what you're used to. But if you do look, you've got the coastal plain, and then everything else is ugly. Everything else is ugly, and of course you've got your various boxes where folks are going to come through. But, you know, very typical GMT map. Very good color, visually appealing, other than the spine of Italy. All right, now let's talk about books. Because everybody knows I like books. What's the point of being a military historian if you don't like books? Oh, and the other all-important, your hefty storage slider bags, because, well, I didn't get any bags for this game, or maybe they didn't come with it. But this box lives in here so that Miss Katie doesn't use up my... And Miss Katie goes and buys me my own ones, but you know, if they're in the kitchen, they're fair game. So, let's talk about books. There's 3 of them. Only one is directly about Italy. And let's get to that one first. It is the famous U.S. Army official green series of history books of World War II. And this one is the Mediterranean Theater of Operations. And it's called Salerno to Cassino. You can buy this online. You can also get these in a large CD. Imagine that, a CD, folks, from the U.S. Army Center of Military History. They're worth having. It's a good volume. We don't have all the ones for the Mediterranean, but we do have this one. Then there's Satino, the Wehrmacht Retreat. I think this is his best of the 3 series, and the parts on Salerno are very good. He is, he's kind of the Mark Clark than a number of people here. He also doesn't really delve much into the Corps Commander failure here at Salerno. Walks around it, but sort of goes to it. And of course, you know, and there goes Petunia. We'll kind of shush her to the side because she takes up a lot of camera space. Worth your time, and like I said, it deals with the Wehrmacht in 1943, but he also, he takes some good slaps at a smiling Al. Al Kesselring, the field marshal who many folks give perhaps an overrating to, sort of like Gonzaga in college basketball, or Baylor and Tennessee the last 2 years for my brackets. You know, it's like, well, hey Al, if you were so good, let's send you to Russian front and see how well you did as defensive specialist there. And then, of course, there's always our favorite, John Ellis in Brute Force, who is just scathing about the Allied strategy and lack of sensibility in how they conducted this. A shoestring operation, and of course Montgomery's failure to come up quickly from the south. He's just, if you like cynicism and good terse military history writing, Ellis is a favorite. So there you have it, folks. We'll do a more detailed look at some of these other things because Miss Katie's going to go get my rice ready in the kitchen, and I will continue to do this. So as always, we thank you, folks, and we'll look at things in much greater detail here in a moment once we do battle handoff and she gives me back my phone. Thank you, folks. Talk to you in a minute. All right, folks, we're back. Let's look first at the rule book. Standard GMT rulebook, and we're going to pick it up and move it here. 32 pages, replete with lots of good diagrams. Colorful. Well, you would expect that with GMT. We've already gone through this. It's the ZOC, the Zoc bonds. Once you've played it several times, it's not a difficult concept. At first it seems to be, but it works well enough. And the first time I encountered that was in their big D-Day game. And frankly, it took me a little while there. But the one thing I was glad to see in this game right off is, what was the critical element for the American Army? Artillery. Because when it looked like we were going to get pushed back into the sea, and the Germans were pushing down through the river seam and the core boundary, they discovered there was a broken bridge, and it gave our artillery line enough time to make life hellish for the Germans and just stop them. So the fact that artillery support units, ASUs, count towards victory points matters a great deal. And the only people who get victory points are the Americans, but you could lose victory points in that fashion. So now we talked here about the scenario sheets. Well, there's one. There's the campaign game and avalanche scenario. Here's the optional start, and this is all there is for the Germans. Kind of nice, isn't it? I don't have to spend all day sorting units. All right, let's talk about the next thing. We have the player aid cards. Well, here we have our combat result table. Nicely below it. Easy to read, easy to lay out. The explanations. The other tables, much like the Battle of Mossig? Well, one of their Moscow, East Front Gates. Over here, we have the terrain effects chart. We have the impact of markers. And then, of course, the inside, we have some additional charts, unit types, and the sequence of play. Intelligent design layout. Can't fuss about that. And we have, like my arm coming across there, the counters are nice and thick. If it's a heavy counter sheet, this is it, folks. These are all the counters. I'm not fussing. This is marvelous. A game I can sit up and play easily. Those are all the units. And of course, a little bit of German armored. The Luftwaffe actually did show up for a little while here and then found itself totally outclassed. And what was interesting is the Allies had heavy bomber support, which you see here. You got Spitfire. There it looks like, oh, that glasses, it looks like a P-38. But the all-important naval support. And the Germans again found out there was nothing they could do to deal with Allied naval gun support. Just nothing they could do. All right, folks, the big overall picture of the map, like it? Well, it's Italy. And your victory point hexes. Easily delineated beaches, Darby's Rangers, and guess what we have here in Florence, Alabama? We have a Darby Boulevard. Not the same Darby, though, because that Darby was born in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Remnants, general records for victory points and supply. You notice that the game is 22 turns, but really by 17, 18 September, this battle had been decided. But as we talked about here, of course, here's the river and the valley where folks did not have a good split and organization between the corps. But you notice the spine. We start through here. Very rough terrain. Good for the Germans to dig in at, except the Germans want to throw the Allies back into the sea. Like the map? I like the map a great deal. Now, let's talk about the books one more time, just so you can see them up close. We've got Brute Force by John Ellis. Highly recommend it. We've got Cetino's The Wehrmacht Retreats. That's number 2. That's the one that he's a good academician. 3-volume series, good one. The third volume at the end of the war isn't quite as good, but that's only because I've read the German end of the war stuff, which is much better than his. If you haven't read the Oxford histories, it's a good volume. And then, of course, the CMH Salerno de Casino. So, new game. Oh, yes, we need to show you the box cover because It has the Lord's own stuff on it on the cover. It has tanks. Oh, tanks are just wonderful, aren't they? So there you have it, folks. As always, we thank you. We thank GMT. Thank you, Tony Curtis. And thank you, Elizabeth, for sending these to us. As always, it's a blessing to get games, and we thank you. Bye.